Hey guys, so today we're looking at SI unit conversions. Well, really it's unit conversions. If I say, hey, how many millimeters are there in a meter? A lot of you will probably, very quickly say 1,000. Duh. How many milliliters is in a liter? Again, 1,000. That's simple, okay? No, 5 liters. How many milliliters is that? 5,000. I mean, that's easy and all. But when things get a little tougher, okay, especially when you look into maybe a relation, like something per something, how would you convert that into some other something per something? And that becomes very hard. It's a little bit harder than just moving zeros around and moving decimals around. So what I'm going to show you today is something called factor label method. Now, at times you may think, man, I'm doing a lot of work for, something I can easily just move my decimal place. But as I said, there are times later on where you really can't do that. All right. So before we begin, let's take a look at this little chart right here that I want you to at least memorize. Okay. It will help you a lot in terms of, doing the unit conversions later on. So what we have here is one base. Now, what is a base automatically? What is a base? Well, I would say a base is really just, base units, like meter. Okay, that's a base unit. Like liter, that's the base unit. Okay, grams, definitely a base unit. And then something that you're going to hear a lot of, mole. Okay, which is, of course, a base unit. Okay, well, how do you use this? It's very simple. One base is equal to 1,000 milli. What that means is that if you have 1 meter, that will equal to 1,000 millimeter. You get it? 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliter. 1 gram, okay, is equal to 1,000 milligram. 1 mole is 1,000 millimole. So that's how you would use this. So if I were to say, let's take a look at this one then. Look at this one, okay? 1 meter will equal to 100 centimeter. Okay? And so forth. 1 millimole is equal to 1,000 micromole. Very rarely would you say micromole. There's not a lot of, trust me, you're not going to see micromole. But that's, something that you need to just keep in mind. And lastly, okay, 1 milliliter is really equal to 1 centimeter cube. Okay. In many cases, we use milliliter as an abbreviation for measuring the volume of liquids, and centimeter cubes maybe a solid, but also liquid too. And they also call this cc, which is what we call cubic centimeter. So let's do factor label method. Let's take a look at how we're going to use this chart right here and do some simple units conversion before we get into some harder ones. So let's take a look at many examples. Okay, I want to change, let's say, 5.78 meters into, let's make it easy this time, just millimeter. How many millimeter would that be? Now, a lot of you will say very quickly, that's 5,780. And you're right, of course it is. But I want you to prove it using factor label method. What are you going to do? The idea here is very, very simple. Okay? Just knowing how to set up your equation and you got the trick. So you have 5.78 meters. and you're going to multiply that by a fraction. Now, what's important here is what goes on the numerator and what goes on the denominator. Now, you want to change meters into millimeters. So somehow meters has to go. Well, if it has to go, it should be in the denominator. Okay, because later on you'll see them being crossed out because they're on the opposite side of the fraction. Well, the unit of desire will be on the numerator in this case. Okay, so what you're going to put in the fraction is based on what you see right here on this chart. How many meters is in how many millimeter? So you look into these relationship and it looks like this is the relationship that is being stated. Okay, it takes 1 meter, just like what it says right here. That is equivalent to 1,000 millimeters. So that goes in here. Like this. Okay, so for every 1 meter is equivalent to 1,000 millimeter. Now, just do this mathematical operation. You know that meters and meters cancel, and what's left here is millimeter. So this is nothing more than the 5.78 times 1,000, which will give you this. Now, a lot of you are thinking, man, that's a lot of work just to do something that I can easily do in less than a second. Well, as I said before, once it gets harder, this method is extremely useful, especially when we get into something like stoichiometry later on in the month. All right? So hopefully you guys are comfortable with that. Let's do another one. Let's erase this, and let's do another one. Okay? Let's say I have 14.773 I don't know, milliliter. And I want to know how many liters would that be. Okay, all right, so you're looking at the same relationship, milli and base. Milli and base, so that's this one. One base is equal to 1,000 milli. So just like what we did before, we did 773 milliliter, and we're going to multiply that by a fraction. We want milliliter to cross out, right? So we're going to put it on the opposite side. This, of course, this side would be denominator. Liters is the unit of desire, so I'm going to put that on a numerator. So it looks like for every base is 1,000 milli. Says right there. Okay, so as I set up my fraction, I know the fact that milliliter and milliliter will cross out. Okay, and what I have here, of course, is 14.773 divided by 1,000. That will give me 0.014773 liters. Okay, hopefully you guys are sort of comfortable with this. All right, let's go up the ante. Let's make it a little bit harder, where you may be asked to convert and convert again. So let's say I have 0.00042 milligram. Okay, or let's see, let's not use milligram, let's kilogram. And I want to know how many milligram is that. Okay, now if you look into your box, there is really no relationship between kilo and milli, right? We see kilo is 100,000 base, we see a base is 1,000 milli, but we don't have a direct relationship from kilo to milli. Hey, sometimes things are not as clearly stated as it is, so maybe, just maybe, you have to do just a little bit more. As I've mentioned, I do have kilo to base, And I do have base 2 milli. So it looks like I might have to do things more than once, don't I? Let's do that. So I have 0.00042 kilogram. I'm going to change that to base. Okay? So for every kilogram is 1,000 gram. Okay? I got that relationship from here. Kilograms and kilograms cancel. Okay? And I'm left with, of course, just to make sure I did it right and I didn't make any mistakes in terms of moving that decimal around, I get 0.42 grams. Okay? Now, that's not what I want. I don't want grams. I want milligrams. But of course, by looking at this relationship, I can go from base to milli this way. So I can go 0.42 gram, and I will multiply that by 1,000 again. Why? Because for every gram, it is 1,000 milligram. Grams and grams cancel, and that's nothing more than 0.42 times 1,000. That will be 420 milligram. There you go. Okay? That's how you would change kilograms to milligram, but it seems like this is a lot of writing. Can I shorten up the writing? Well, of course. Once you get more comfortable, and I hope you will, because you have to, I'd rather have you do this. Watch how I'm going to do this. Okay, 0.00042 kilogram. Okay, I want to change this to milligram. Now, those of you who are mathematically savvy will recognize that we really times 1,000 times 1,000. Wouldn't that be times 1,000,000? Sure. 1 kilogram is equivalent to 1,000,000 milligram. It is. Okay, you can do it that way. If you already know that conversion, no big deal. But let's say I don't know that conversion. I'm basing on what I see here. Well, what you can do is this. Instead of equaling, you can say, okay, I need to first change kilograms to grams. So I plug in the relationship. That way I know for a fact that kilogram and kilogram cancel, and I'm left with here grams. Now I'm going to change grams to milligrams. So I'm going to do it again. Okay? This time I'm going to have grams here, so the grams and grams can cancel, and I'll have milligrams up here. And the relationship is that 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligram. That way, you can see the fact that grams and grams cancel. And the only units I have here in town is milligram. And this is nothing more than, of course, again, as I mentioned, multiplying 1,000 twice. And you should, of course, get 420 milligram. Okay? I'm going to have to get you guys to get more used to doing it this way. Okay? Due to the fact that when we get to topic 1 in stoichiometry, this is something that you will have to know how to do. Right? And trust me, I have lots of questions for you guys to work on today. So, hey, you're going to get good at it. Trust me, you are going to get very, very good at it. All right, so let's erase this. Okay, and let me give you one to do. So let's say I have 14,800 microliter. That's so little. Imagine, that's actually very, very little. Okay? Microliter. And I want to know how many centiliter that is. Okay? So 14,800 microliter to centiliter. So I want you to pause this video and maybe figure that out using factor label method. And when you're done, hey, continue on with the video. I will take it right out. All right, I'm pretty sure you unpaused as of now. That's why I'm continuing to talk. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this. Let's take a look at the plan in terms of how we're going to do this. We're looking at micro here. Okay, and the relationship here is that 1 milli is equivalent to 1,000 micro. Okay, that's what it is. But then I'm not looking for milli, am I? I'm looking for centi. How am I going to get to centi in this case? It seems like, man, this is puzzling. Well, micro, I can easily turn micro into milli. Okay, and if you look at centi, 1 base is equal to 100 centi. So somehow I need to turn it into a base. From milli to base, that's not a problem. I just go back to right here. Okay, and then I can go from base to centi, as you see right there, because there is a relationship. So it seems like this is going to be a 3-step thing, isn't it? For those of you who are starters, in other words, for those of you who are noobs, yeah, that's right. That's what you have to do. But of course, if you're, again, mathematically savvy, you might even know the direct relationship between a micro and a centi. No big deal if you do. Okay, but let's do this the conventional way. Let's all be noobs, and let's do it as a newbie way, okay? Even though you're thinking, oh my God, this is so pointless. So let's go. 14,800 microliter. Okay. Again, let's say you don't know the direct relationship between micro and centi. No big deal, because you do know the direct relationship between micro and milli, because 1 milliliter is equivalent to 1,000 microliter. That way, microliter cancel, and you're left with milliliter. How sick is that? All right, I'm not going to stop there. Okay, there's really no point for me to write that equal sign and find out what that is. I'm going to continue, because right now I have milliliter. Can I change milliliter to centiliter? Again, I don't have a direct relationship here, but I do have a relationship where I can turn milliliter into a base by using this. So I'm going to do that, okay? Because I know for every liter is 1,000 milliliter. So milliliters can cancel. Well, I'm not done yet. Right now I have 1 base. Is there a relationship between base and centi? Oh, yeah, there is. Yes, there is. All right, let's plug that in. Okay, base and centiliter. I know that for every 1 base, as I see right here, is 100 centi. 100 centi. So liters and liters cancel, and what you have here is centiliter. So we we just have to do the math. We already, put up a relationship that microliter to centiliter is nothing more than dividing it by 1,000 twice and then multiply by 100 once. Okay, so let me calculate that for you right now. That way you guys all have the same answer, hopefully, if I don't make any mistakes. The answer is 1.48 centiliter. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake and everybody got the same thing. Okay. So as you can see, it's really not that difficult. As I said, you really have to know this, okay, in order to put this together. Trust me, with lots and lots of practice, it will be just second nature. All right, let's move on to something harder. Okay, let's move on to a unit that that I call it relationship unit. Okay, like density. All right. So 6.22 grams per milliliter is a density unit. Guess what? I want you to change that into milligrams per liter. How would you do that? I want you to change 6.22 milligrams per milliliter into milligrams per liter. Okay? You'll notice at the end that this is a very silly thing to do. Well, kind of. Not really that silly. But I want you to know how to do it. Okay? So let's do it. Let's do this together. So you have 6.22 grams per milliliter. Now what that really means, okay, when you have a unit of relationship, is 6.22 grams for every milliliter. Or you can say for every milliliter, there is 6.22 grams. So you can set that up as a fraction. So 6.22 grams per every milliliter. That's what this means. Okay, 6.22 grams per milliliter is really 6.22 grams over 1 milliliter. If you haven't already knew that. Now, this is what I want you to do, step by step. I need to change this grams into a milligram, as is stated right here. And I want to change this milliliter into a liter, as is being stated right there. Okay, so let's look at the grams first. Okay, it doesn't really which one you look at first. At the end, you'll get the same answer. Okay, so let's change this into milligram first. Let's multiply by a fraction. Let's apply factor label method. This is so powerful. I want to change grams into milligrams, and I want to make sure that milligrams is on the numerator. So how do we get rid of this gram? Very simple. Divide it by a gram. I want milligram up here because that's my unit of desire. I want milligram on the numerator. Okay, the relationship is base to milli. That's this one right here. It's always the first one. So for every base is 1,000 milli. Base, grams, and grams cancel. Check this out. You're actually a step closer. What you have right here is milligram per milliliter. You got this one down packed. You just have to do this one now. Now I'm going to change milliliters to liter. So I'm going to multiply this by another fraction to do so. I'm going to make sure that milliliter is up here because only when it's up here, when it's opposite, that these guys can later cancel. The unit of desire is liter. Again, this is base and milli. Therefore, I'm going to have 1 here because for every base is again 1,000 milli. Okay? Milli and milli cancels. Oh, check this out right here. Check out the units. If you look at the numerator, this is all numerator. The only units that you see is milligrams. That's exactly what I want. If you look at the denominator, the only units you see that's left is liter. Oh, that's also exactly what I want. Okay, so there you go. You are done. Okay, you are done. This, to change grams per milliliter to milligrams per liter, is really multiplying your number of that by 1,000 twice. Now, don't tell me that you knew that by moving decimals around. Maybe you do, okay? But as you can see, that would be very, very difficult to do when the number gets really, really weird. So this is nothing more than 6,220,000 milligrams per liter. Okay? Or if you remember, to abbreviate these big numbers, we like to use scientific notation. So you can say 6.22 times 10 to the power of 6. milligrams per liter. Okay, get used to doing something like that. That's actually very, very important. All right, so that's how you would change these units, okay? That are what I call relationship unit. Density is a relationship unit because there's trying to figure out the relationship between mass and volume. All right, let's do one more, and then I have this worksheet for you. Let's clear this up. All right. This is something that you're going to see a lot of later on, okay? We're going to change 0.84 moles per liter. This is known as molarity, okay? It's a concentration unit. I wanted you to change that to millimole per milliliter. Okay. You'll probably figure out the fact that, oh, this is quite useless. And why am I doing this? Okay. All right, so pause this video and do that now. All right. I'm sure you guys unpause and waiting to see if you got the same answer I got. No, why did I say this is useless? Well, let's do this. So 0.84 mole for every 1 liter, right? Okay. Well, you can say for every 1 liter, there's 0.84 mole. Well, let's turn mole into millimole. Okay. So I'm gonna multiply by a fraction. For every mole, there's 1,000 millimole. Mole and mole cancel. So right now you have millimole per liter. Now that's not what I want. Not yet. I want milliliter. So I'm going to have to multiply by another fraction. And I need to get rid of liters. So I'm going to put it up here. So for every liter, it's 1,000 milliliter. That way liters and liters cancel. See what I mean? This is useless. Okay, you're multiplying by 1,000. And then you're going to be dividing by 1,000. That means you really did nothing. The answer is the same. See? Hopefully that's what you got. And if you did, units, factor label method is something that you do know. And this is a very, very powerful tool. It allows you to be organized. And with this, actually, you really don't need to know some of these mathematical formulas. Okay? With this idea, you can easily make up your own formula. Well, not really make up your own, but calculate what makes sense without using a direct formula, which I'm going to train you to do. Anyway, I have a worksheet right here waiting for you. So let's complete that and let's call it a day.